everyone, welcome back to another in-depth weather video. Today we're going to be talking about the tropics, some thunderstorms, some heavy rainfall, and then we'll finish off with the models. Want to make this video a little bit shorter. So if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another in-depth weather video. So here I am on the National Weather Service page. We still have a lot of orange on the map. That's heat advisories. We have a few excessive heat warnings along the coast as well, the East Coast. You have a few flash flood alerts here. Flash flood watches, flash flood warnings in the Missouri to Illinois area, as well as some severe thunderstorm watches in parts of Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, and Wyoming. Other than that, a few isolated air quality alerts, some special weather statements, and I think that's a dense smoke advisory in the Western Nevada category. At least it's telling me Western Nevada. I'm pointing at California though, so that's a little weird. But let's move on to the radar. So we do have, right where that flash flood warning is, that flash flood watch, we do have a cluster of thunderstorms that most likely is dropping a lot of rain. So a lot of rain in there, and then we have those severe thunderstorm watches. That is probably in association to this. I think they're somewhere over here. There was a tornado earlier. At least that was what was popping up on my map, on the map that I use. There was a tornado. I think it's kind of out of range now, but let me check. No, I don't think it's on here. So this has been generating some thunderstorm activity, and at least I saw at least one tornado. So then you also have some monsoon type storms as well. Now let's move on to the National Hurricane Center. Tropics are heating up again. They're heating up again. We have another disturbance here that has a 20% chance of 5 days. Disorganized showers and thunderstorms over the central Bahamas and adjacent waters are associated with a tropical wave. Environmental conditions could become a little more conducive to the development of the system over the Gulf of Mexico. The system is expected to move west-northwestward through the Straits of Florida Monday, over the southeastern Gulf of Mexico by Tuesday, and across the central Gulf on Wednesday, and reach the northwestern Gulf on Thursday. So, if this does form, it'll add to the total for this year, which would be the 7th storm. But if it doesn't form, there's still going to be a lot of rain carrying with this, and I think the plume is more on the northwestern side. So, if you live in the Gulf area, just take notice. I don't see any models showing this forming. That doesn't mean that it's not going to form. That happened with Bertha, where none of the models really showed it forming, and it formed. So, it's always a possibility, especially with this season, as crazy as it has been. So, the East Pacific, we have two systems kind of trailing each other. One has a 50% chance in 48 hours, the other has 40% chance. So, but the big difference is the 5-day outlook. So, they're kind of going to be just parallel to each other. This has a 50% chance, this has a 70% chance. So, this one will more likely become Douglas, but this one could also as well. So, I will be watching both of those very carefully, just in case they do in fact form. So, yeah, I mean, that one looks so much more developed. Much more developed than the other one. So, I'm definitely paying attention to disturbance number 2. Definitely looks like it'll be forming here really soon. So, the Central Pacific has a disturbance, which, yeah, I think that's the same one. That's the same one. So it's the same one. It's starting to get into the Central Pacific zone here. So that is all I wanted to show with the National Hurricane Center. So let's move on to the Storm Prediction Center for the thunderstorm outlook. So we do have some slight risks in areas like Bismarck, Rapid City, and Valentine. If you are in this dark green, you are in a marginal risk in areas stretching all the way from Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and even New Mexico, all the way out to the Cape of Massachusetts. So a very large area under a marginal risk for severe thunderstorms. So if you're in this light green area, that's general thunderstorms. That means you do have a chance of seeing thunderstorms, but there's a very low chance that any of them are severe. If you're in the marginal risk, I usually say about 1 out of 5, slight risk 2 out of 5. So let's move into the tornado outlook. 2% in that slight risk area. That was about the same that we saw yesterday. Wind, it follows along perfectly with categorical. 15% in the slight risk, and then 5% in the marginal risk. Hail, same thing, but a little bit less of that marginal risk. So if you're in the eastern, I'm gonna say basically east of the Mississippi, if you're in a marginal risk, you're really gonna be expecting strong winds with those severe thunderstorms. Not hail, not tornadoes. At least we're not expecting it. Less than 2% chance, or as in the case of the wind and hail, less than 5% chance. So let's move on to the excessive rainfall outlook. So we do have multiple areas of slight risk and multiple areas of marginal risk. Slight risk, you have one area in the Dakotas and Minnesota, another area in Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri. And then for the marginal risks, you have Montana, the Dakotas, Minnesota, and parts of Wisconsin, as well as an area from Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia, and another area in Texas and New Mexico, and another one in Texas and Louisiana. So if you're in a marginal risk, you have a 5 to 10% chance of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance, and slight risk is 10 to 20%. Now let's move on to the models. So we see that we're tracking the storms across the central part of the country. Some storms really firing up in the northeast here, and then they started to form back into the central part of the country. So it's kind of like an order of progression here. You have the storms that we're currently watching, northeast kind of blows up a little bit, then the central part of the country really blows up a bit, especially right over here. And then we watch that start to form into a system as well. So, and of course we have the monsoon rains. But other than that, there really isn't much noticeable. Let's move into the temperature. Generally, we're still seeing, we're seeing much less 90s and 100s. Still the desert, blazing hot. But generally, the south is going to be the 80s and 90s. The northeast coast will be in the 80s and 90s as well. But except for the coastline of the northeast region, generally, if you're north, like this area that I'm highlighting with my cursor here, you're going to be generally in the 70s, 80s, maybe some low 90s. And then, of course, you have the exceptions in the mountain regions based on elevation. So, finally, let's take a quick look at the tropics. I just want to do something really quick. I don't want this video to be too long. So, let's look at the North Atlantic first. I don't see that forming. So, you can see that's the disturbance. I see it as a soaker. But the East Pacific, there's definitely something that forms. So you have these two disturbances. They don't seem to form here. I mean, that one probably does a little bit. Yeah, it starts to right over there. But then this system right here, that is really strong. So that is what it's showing. It's been showing that for a while, something around like the August 1st time frame, something really exploding in the Pacific. Now let's move into the Central Pacific just to track that other one. Yeah, so it definitely shows that something does form, and that comes pretty close to Hawaii, but it does show that it misses. So that is what I wanted to cover for today, so I will leave you all with that. I hope you have a great Monday, and I will either post one of these tomorrow, or if one of those storms forms, I will post a tropical update video.